Hey guys, and welcome to Echocast. This is the official Echocraft podcast. If you guys aren't familiar, we are Minecraft YouTubers who just make videos on the same server and just hang out and prank each other and just do random stuff all the time. I'm Pokemaniac101. I'm also being joined by Lagging Days.
Hello.
Hello. So, how have you been doing? I've seen you've been busy on YouTube with Zelda. You've been doing a lot of Zelda, haven't you?
Yes, I've been playing Tears of the Kingdom for the past week, over
6 hours a day.
Per day. Yeah.
Yeah, I looked at your channel. It's like, okay, you have been putting in hours in this game. It's kind of fun to see. I haven't actually watched any of the streams because part of me wants to stay spoiler free, but also part of me wants to be to be able to watch the game and stuff. Because I don't have my own Switch, and because I'm a broke college student, I probably won't get my own Switch anytime soon. So yeah, my whole experience with the game is from seeing thumbnails and stuff and Twitter stuff about the game, and also my roommate got the game, so I'll watch him sometimes when he's got docked on the TV. But for the most part, I haven't played it myself yet. But anyway, what's your thoughts on the game so far?
I am addicted, so it's really a point where it's definitely better than Breath of the Wild for me. I didn't even finish Breath of the Wild, but for me, Tears of the Kingdom just lets you do a whole lot more in terms of traversal and stuff. I don't feel as limited as I was in Breath of the Wild, but also Breath of the Wild, you didn't really have Sky Islands and stuff, so yeah, you kind of need that traversal, those traversal mechanics. So it's always a sort of what is it called? I just spend so much of my time interactive crafting in that game. It's insane.
Yeah, I know a lot. Animal Crossing added crafting in the newest game, and now with Tears of the Kingdom, I know a lot of people are saying okay, if you want to make a game instantly better, add crafting, add this sort of thing that users can either do stuff with items they collect or just create random things. I've seen some pretty fun and interesting, to say the least, creations on this game so far, especially surrounding Koroks. Don't want to get into that too much, but yeah, people have been committing war crimes against Koroks, and it is interesting to see. It's weird to see people go for that as the first thing. Yeah, and
it's worth it because there are 100 more Koroks than last time. So,
oh really? How many were the last time? 900? I mean,
technically, yeah, 900. So it's 1,000. But it's not really that much, mostly because there's the Koroks that do give you that they added basically, or the ones
the
where
backpack ones
you have to bring a backpack guy to another guy, so they give you two, right? So they don't have to fill up the same amount of space, because you get one from the guy with the backpack, and then you get one from the guy who wants to meet the guy with the backpack. So that's how what is it called? I think they're able to fit in 1,000 Korok seeds this time.
Yeah. Okay, and I know, does Hestu have some more stuff to do in this game? Because in the last one, he just gave you a big Korok seed at the end that just looked like a little pile of poop. But does he do anything special, or have you not got?
He probably does the same thing. I'm not sure if he would change it after the events of Breath of the Wild, right?
I don't know if the developers would go for that again, because otherwise they wouldn't.
I think it would be funny just to do it again.
Because yeah, Korok seeds will expand your items and stuff, but unless they change it, people have been pranked before. They've already been pranked from it once. I don't think they'd want to do it again. So I feel especially now that there's 100 more Korok seeds, if people get the same just kind of joke reward, I feel they're gonna get a little upset.
I think it's already confirmed that it's something that's something that players don't want. I don't know what it actually is, but it's technically not useful. I think it's probably a trophy or something. So
Hmm.
I think they did the same kind of thing, and I always think it's funny when people go the collector's route and then get something that they don't need at all.
Yeah, yeah. I know the completionist. If you've ever seen the completionist, I know there's certain games he's really gotten like really frustrated with because of like just the sheer amount of stuff you have to do and the really not really rewarding reward you get at the end. I think Crash 4 was one of them, one of those games where it's just like you have to keep replaying levels over and over and over again with just like different impossible challenges, and you don't really get much at the end. But since he's the completionist and that's kind of the point of his channel, he had to slog through it, and he just hated it,
Hmm.
and just like never gonna play Crash 4 again. But anyway, some of the cool things in the new game are like some of the new abilities. Um, I, as far as I know, they haven't brought back on the old ones, so you don't have like first the old
No,
Sheikah Slate abilities, but also the champion abilities. I was really hoping at least to see like Rivali's Gale come back because that was
you
always like
can't
super
really
useful.
do Rivali's Gale, but there are different ways to go about it. It's not like a simple like crouch down and you can do Rivali's Gale, right?
Hmm.
But there's a whole lot more ways of going vertical now. It just doesn't really involve the paraglider and Rivali scale
Yeah,
anymore,
yeah, because I know there's like the ascend ability, and then I think
which is so helpful.
you've got
Actually,
like portable fans you can use, and but those can get expensive as far as I know.
yeah, you kind of have to farm the beginning constructs for them if you really want a lot of them, because there's. I'll say this if it's um it's almost a spoiler, but there's gambling in the game, so
Oh, really?
there's like, well, it's like free gotcha, it's like
Loot
it's
boxes,
those,
basically.
yeah,
I
basically
guess.
just like you use some materials to gamble in the game to get you some very useful stuff.
Hmm. Yeah, like I said, most of my knowledge just comes from watching my roommate play the game. Um,
Hmm.
he did get. Oh, one of the best parts I've seen so far is the basically the Wind Temple, like the Rito kind of quest thing.
Hmm.
Um, that is such a cool dungeon.
It
But like,
is. It is like it is so large. I didn't expect it to actually do that. I didn't expect them to add like so much for just one dungeon there. So,
hmm
but it also
but
makes me kind of nervous to attempt the other ones because it's it's the only one I've done and it took like 2 hours or something.
yeah, I was watching him and like helping him out. We were both like, okay, how do we do this? How do we? So we both kind of went through the dungeon together almost, and I had to like Google some parts to get through it. But yeah, that was cool. And all the musical references. Like I'm a music guy. I really like film and game music especially. And so all the little motifs and stuff that they brought back from like Rivali's theme and the Varita or what Von Meadow battle. Von Meadow has like a battle theme in Breath of the Wild that's only in like one track, and they brought that back for this dungeon, and it was like so cool hearing it again. Um, and then for the boss, like I don't want to spoil the boss at all for you guys that are listening that haven't gotten to it yet, but there are some Wind Waker musical references in there that are just like really cool to hear. It's like, okay, Zelda's got musical consistency again, because I know a lot of people were kind of disappointed with Breath of the Wild soundtrack because it felt very like
It was more ambient. It wasn't. It
atmospheric.
was
Yeah,
basically, yeah. It wasn't. It wasn't like the bombastic kind of themes that you found in the earlier Zelda games, right?
they did have those like for the boss fights and dungeons
Yeah.
and stuff, but for the most
But
part,
for the
it
most
wasn't.
part, when you're traveling, it's mostly ambient, trying to give you the atmosphere of the game.
Hmm. Yeah, and so because of that, there wasn't too many like references to old games. There was like Battle of the Windfish for some reason in Hyrule Castle, which is really good, by the way. If you guys haven't listened to that track just on its own, but the Hyrule Castle track in Breath of the Wild has like a few other references and stuff that are really cool. But for the most part, yeah, Breath of the Wild kind of stood on its own. And so Tears of the Kingdom has kind of like combined that as well as like a lot of older games to make something pretty cool from what I can hear so far.
Yeah, how did you feel about Breath of the Wild soundtrack? It was I didn't have any ill feelings towards it like some people did.
I
but
really like it. I think the people who say that it doesn't have anything interesting in it just
not
kind of
listening.
haven't listened to the soundtrack because I ended up buying the soundtrack. It's a 5 CD set, and yeah, it's only in Japan, so I had to get like imported or whatever. So it was like $100 or something on Walmart. But I did end up buying the soundtrack, and I really like it. It's really good. There's a lot of good stuff in there.
Yeah, but that's so expensive, isn't it?
Yeah, if honestly, the only reason
Wait, how much did
it,
you? I was gonna say, like, how much did it cost to import it, and then how much was it like in the the Japanese stores?
I don't know. I could probably Google it really quick just to see how much it costs in Japan. But really, the only reason I did get it and could afford to get it was because I'd gotten just an insane amount of money for Christmas one year. Like normally I don't. Normally maybe $20 is what I get for Christmas, but I got a lot of money from a lot of people, and it was like, okay, I guess I'll just get something that I've been wanting to get for a while that's just like crazy expensive. So I got the Breath of the Wild soundtrack. Here, let me just Google it really quick. Breath of the Wild.
What format is that in?
CD. So it's a 5 CD
Okay.
set.
Interesting.
Which you can, if for some of you music or non-music people out there, who might think, oh, why didn't you just get it digital or whatever? CD actually does have a lot of differences. Basically, it's uncompressed, which means that it doesn't. It's what was recorded. So basically, you hear the highest quality sound possible. MP3s are built for internet.
I thought you were going to talk about
internet.
FLAC.
What?
I thought you were going to talk about FLAC, like, what is it called?
Yeah,
lossless audio codec or whatever it's called.
Something like that, yeah. Or Wave. Wave is another one of those lossless ones. So there are different ways of audio files, but MP3 is the most common, especially if you're getting a digital visual album or something. And MP3 was built for internet to be smaller file sizes to be able to be download and upload easier, and because of that, it actually loses a little bit of audio quality. So I really like to get physical releases of soundtracks just as often as I can. Plus, it's just really cool to have them. Like the packaging is always really nice, and the CDs. So when I'm listening to stuff in the car, CDs are the way to go if you have them. But I'll listen to stuff over Bluetooth if I don't have it physically. But yeah, there's a reason I spent $100 on this soundtrack to get it on CD so I could listen to it in the car at like the full quality. Anyway,
yeah,
Breath of the Wild.
But if you don't have a car or like any DVD player, Blu-ray player, or whatever, you probably can't listen to it either way, right? So
yeah, probably not. I'm not seeing it. I'm not seeing it online right now. It might be on like at a Japanese store, like Japanese Amazon. Let me see that really. Amazon Japan. Just check this out really quick. I also don't know the conversion from whatever it is. What's their money called?
I think it's yen.
Yeah, yen.
I think it's usually like 100 yen to $1 kind of thing.
Okay. Let's see.
So it's basically like a cent almost.
Let's see. So 5,082 yen. 5,082 yen to dollars. In Japan, it's $36. Mm-hmm. I had to buy it for like 100. So that just shows you how annoying it is that Nintendo refuses to release their music outside of Japan. It's insane. Oh man.
Well, not even release it in CD form, but like any form,
Yeah, they'll do
any
they've
digital
got this
form,
obsession with doing in-game like
soundtracks,
in
in-game
yeah,
music players.
yeah, in-game music players. And so like I ended up buying the Super Mario 3D All-Stars for two reasons. One was because I never played 64 and I'd never played Sunshine, and I wanted to get both of those games. But the second reason was also because they had the soundtracks for all three games on there, and I don't think any of them had been released in the US officially before then. And so that was like the closest thing to having a, Galaxy. Galaxy's an amazing soundtrack, but officially it hadn't been released, I don't think, until then. So that was also like the big thing that made me really want to get it. Because
Yeah.
Sunshine you could probably get otherwise. Yeah, it's a much older game. It's harder to get a hold of, but you can get it other ways. You could probably find it on GameCube on eBay or something for crazy expensive. But so it wasn't.
Yeah, it's one of those. It's like one of those smaller things, right? Like, there's a built-in music player, cool, but that's also a good reason to like get Smash Ultimate, right? Like they have all their
Yeah.
music there,
Yeah, Smash
but I'm
Ultimate
not
has
sure
always
of the
been
quality.
pretty good. But also Smash Ultimate is very hit or miss. Like it's not like you can say I want to get Smash Ultimate because it's got the whole Galaxy soundtrack on it. It's got like highlights.
There's some
It's got
remixes.
two or three
There's
two or
some-
three Galaxy songs, and then like remixes and stuff. So yeah, Smash Ultimate has a pretty good music player, but I don't think it's any replacement for official soundtrack releases at
Yeah,
all.
it's also not clear if they actually use like not what is it called, MP3 files, right? Like maybe they use .ogs or something. I'm not sure because
Yeah,
Minecraft
something like
uses those that
I
.og
think
file.
those are uncompressed, if I remember correctly. I can also look that up really quick. But yeah, I think ODGs. Oh, they might be actually. Hold on. I can't remember. They might be. It's a. It's not. Okay, it's not. It's not coming up for me. ODG deals with container format. It's compressed data, so it is kind of not the same thing as MP3s. So yeah, Pokemon's always been pretty good at releasing their soundtracks. They've always got the soundtrack collections and
yeah.
Go ahead.
I bought the Sun and Moon soundtrack when it when it came out on iTunes and stuff like that. Although I don't know if iTunes is really the greatest spot for music.
no, probably not.
Yeah, but like they usually release it on iTunes and stuff for purchase. But I'm not
Yeah,
sure about
and CD.
any other place.
They do CDs too. The Super Music collections, and it's probably because they aren't fully Nintendo. Like it's probably Game Freak doing that, and so they can. I don't know if Nintendo has any say in whether or not they get to release the soundtrack to the games they kind of only partially own. So yeah, Pokemon's always been good at releasing the soundtracks to their games, but for the most part, Nintendo has got a really spotty track record because they'll do it sometimes, like Breath of the Wild or a lot of Zelda soundtracks. Actually, I think they've released officially, but then other things like Mario they just won't. I think Odyssey did. Odyssey did get like a worldwide release, but I think that was like really a one-off thing. It felt like.
And it really kind of stings too because you know like right, like they'd make so much money off
They
of
would
just
make
selling
a
Lego sets.
lot of money, so much money. Like their music is iconic, and they know their music is iconic because they'll do concerts. They'll do like the Pokemon. Oh, I'm still bitter about Pokemon Symphonic Evolutions. If you guys don't know what that is back when X and Y was coming out, they did an orchestral tour, and it was so good. They basically they arranged all the music for like a full orchestra, and they did like this live tour, and then just didn't ever release any of the music officially. And so the only way you can listen to it is people recording at the concert halls or whatever, and it's, as you can imagine, not the best quality. And people have actually gone and tried to transcribe the music on websites like MuseScore. MuseScore is like kind of a public music website where people can release their music that they've composed. So like sheet music and stuff. So people have kind of done that, but yeah, Symphonic Evolutions is just kind of been lost to time, basically, except for those people like me who are really bitter about it. Especially when they also do the Zelda 25th anniversary concert thing, and they release a CD for that, and which is really good. I'm glad they did it, but it's also annoying that they didn't go all the way and do it for Pokemon too. Which, for Pokemon being the one with the better track record of releasing their music, is just like extra annoying.
Probably has more to do with like the rights holders for the arrangements that they might use
Maybe
during those concerts.
Well, no, because the I think his name is Chad Sider. He did the same. He did the Zelda ones. He did the Pokemon Symphonic Evolutions, but he also did the Zelda 25th arrangements. So it really just seems like a Nintendo versus Game Freak thing, but like flip the other way around. Like it's just a really weird situation, and I will still listen to them online with people's recordings of them, but like I'll in the back of my head I'll always be like, okay, I wish there was a better recording of this somewhere.
And it's always one of these Nintendo things where there's like so much money on the table, but they're either slow to do it, which means that they won't be able to really profit off it that quickly, right?
Mm-hmm.
Or they just implemented really, like really lacking. Like I think a lot of people would be, what is it called? They would be satisfied enough if Nintendo released a streaming service just for their music, right?
Absolutely. Or even just like not even their own streaming service. Yeah. If they don't want to release their stuff to like Spotify or something yet, having their own streaming service, even if it's like a subscription, like even if it's like $2-3 a month to have this Nintendo music streaming service, I would pay that. Absolutely, I would pay that. And so it's just like they don't make. Nintendo's got a weird track record of business decisions. You can't predict them. No one, people try to predict them, but you really can't at all.
Yeah, maybe someone like higher up like convinced them that hosting the platform like would cost a lot more money in the end. But like, I don't believe that. Like,
I don't think so.
Like,
I think if they had the option, they would get a lot of money from it. People would pay for it. I don't think there should be much of a worry of upkeep costing more than the income, you know?
Mm-hmm. It just feels so strange that I have to go to like YouTube and look at someone else's like recording of the original game
or the
soundtrack.
Game rips, yeah.
Yeah.
And then Nintendo will like they will attack to no end those guys who release their soundtracks on YouTube. But like come on, Nintendo.
They don't have their own option. Come on.
Yeah, it's like if you aren't providing an option, sure, legally, yeah, you have rights to your music and you can choose to do that. But like it's really just not very consumer friendly to do, even if it is in their legal right. It's just not really. It's not a great situation. They would fix a lot of problems if they just release their music, or even like the same thing kind of goes for the older games too, because like shutting down the Virtual Console, 3DS and Wii U got shut down like the last month or two, and so now people have no way to play like Metroid Zero Mission or games like that, especially with Dread coming out. Like Dread came out,
oh no,
and People were like,
I thought you meant like I was about to say Dread already came out.
yeah, no, I know, but
um,
like when Dread was coming out, I know a lot of people were like, okay, I want to get caught up on Metroid because this was like the first big Metroid in a while. It brought a lot of people to the series, and so the only option was like, okay, I can buy a Wii U to play Zero Mission, or I could try to find a really expensive copy of a really expensive Game Boy Advance copy off of eBay. And now that the Wii U eShop's shut down, that's the only option until they bring it to Nintendo Switch Online. And so,
yeah, and that's not a good option. That's prohibitively expensive just to play a game, right?
yeah,
Like, it's just not like if Nintendo only had their options, right? If they actually had options, people wouldn't really be out to emulate all their games, right? Like,
yeah, I know. They're so against emulation. They're so against pirating, which again is in their legal right. But like, then there's, I don't want to get into the whole moral dilemma controversy type thing, because I know a lot of people have the idea that it's morally right to play a game that's not officially released somewhere else. I don't really have a say either way. I just wish Nintendo would release their stuff. I just wish Nintendo would actually, because again, along with same as the music thing, their games are iconic and they know they're iconic, and so they know they can like hold on. They know they can charge a lot of money for their old games, and people will pay them. But when they don't even give them an option, it really annoys people.
It's just that whole thing where it's also, right? Like, they could definitely make a lot of money out of it, right? Like, even if they put like Pokemon on Nintendo Switch Online, they could still like sell the games like standalone, right? And people would pay for that because maybe the Pokemon that you have like on Nintendo Switch Online don't transfer over or can't be used with like Pokemon Transfer, Pokemon Bank, or whatever, right?
Pokemon Home. I imagine they'd probably make it accessible with Pokemon Home.
I don't think so, because they did the whole Pokemon Stadium thing where you can bring in like the older game, you can bring in like a Pokemon from your what is it called, GBA versions or something, but they don't have that, so you can't bring that novelty of bringing your own Pokemon into Pokemon Stadium is gone with the Nintendo Switch Online. So I don't think they could do that, mostly because Nintendo Switch Online also has that what is it called, that playback feature where you can rewind. So it wouldn't really be fair, I think, even if it's just like a digital game, right? It wouldn't really be fair to be able to reverse things on the fly and have that come over to an actual game, maybe.
Maybe, yeah. Like if you get a shiny, if you fail a shiny, you can just rewind it.
Yeah.
Stuff like that. Which Pokemon's always kind of had that. Like saving and quitting right before a legendary has always been something I do. Like it's like I did it with Mewtwo and the legendary birds in Leaf Green, my first Pokemon game. I did it with Giratina. I did it like anytime you come up with a legendary, you save before the legendary. And then if you fail, you can just revert back. So that's always been the thing you do with Pokemon. It's just, yeah, it'd just be, I guess, the rewind feature, I think, is probably the more...
It's really accessible and also very overpowered, because it also does the same thing with like other games, right? You can prevent your own death if you rewind, yada yada. You can roll for the items that you want, re-roll and all that stuff. So
yeah,
it's really powerful. And
I guess
I
like
don't
the
think
game corner in Pokemon, like there's no gambling there anymore if you can just rewind and just get all the best spins.
Yeah, which is why I really want them to bring Pokemon to the eShop, the Switch eShop, because it's like, or the older Pokemon games to the Switch eShop, because it's just like, I want to play Red and Blue again. I want to play Crystal again, or whatever.
Yeah,
the ones that were on the 3DS.
I did get Crystal on the 3DS a couple of years ago, and then before the eShop shut down, I got the Oracle games as well, Oracle of Seasons, Oracle of Ages, and I haven't got through them yet. I barely got through. I think Ages is technically like the first one that's kind of recommended to play first, and so I've kind of got. I barely played it. I mainly got it because I wanted to play it eventually, and that would be my only way. And then since college and stuff, moving to college, I haven't had a whole lot of time to play games outside of Minecraft, and even then, it's more Minecraft or Halo. Usually, I'll chill with playing Halo, so I could probably spend some of that time on the Oracle games. But um, yeah, the big reason I have is my headphones have a bad kink in them, and blue and 3DSs don't have Bluetooth compatibility, so I can't use like my Bluetooth
Uh,
earbuds. And so, because then Zelda, if you're playing Zelda, you want to listen to the music, you want to have the sound, and I don't really want to have to play with the 3DS speakers, you know, because they aren't the greatest. So that's like one reason that was just like really put me off from playing the game. Is like, oh, I really want to play Zelda right now, but I won't be able to listen to it at a decent quality, so I'll just like not do it. But if I got a new pair of headphones, I definitely play those a lot more often.
mm, yeah.
Crystal though,
Just,
I did get through all the Johto stuff, and then I'm kind of stuck at the Elite Four right now.
oh
I
yeah, I
can't
forgot.
beat them
Like
right
Johto
now
has
because
like the worst. Johto has like the worst, like, what is it called, balancing in terms of levels
yeah,
and stuff.
yeah,
Just like
well,
you have to grind.
so much.
And even if you do grind, like even if you do grind, you can't like grind above a certain level, mostly because the last amount of Pokemon in the game aren't high leveled, right? So it's like
Yeah, yeah, it's like all my
it's
Pokemon are
just
like
chore.
level 30 or something. Like my main team that I've been throughout the whole game are like level 30 or 40 or something. And I'm getting to the Elite Four is like I'm super under leveled, and the only Pokemon I can grind are level 30s. So it's just like, okay. Crystal could have used some better balancing there.
And they still kept it for Heart Gold and Soul Silver, so
Oh, really?
they definitely did not balance it for like late game or post game grinding. So
Yeah, I didn't. I
uh,
didn't get Heart Gold and Soul Silver. My brother did get them. He actually, it was kind of funny. My mom, so he'd kind of put Heart Gold and Soul Silver on his like Christmas list, and my mom didn't realize that they were basically the same game, and so she ended up getting both of them for him.
wait, do
No,
you have like two
like
DSs, like you, or
no, no,
like
no, no, like the game. So Heart Gold and Soul Silver, he wanted one of them. I
yeah,
think
yeah, yeah.
he wanted Soul Silver mainly, but he wanted one of them for Christmas, and my mom didn't realize that he was asking for like either or, so she ended up getting both of them. I think, if I remember correctly, and so he ended up doing a normal playthrough on one, and then a Nuzlocke on the other.
Hmm. I was thinking that he might that if you had like two DSs, like you might be sharing one just to remedy that mistake. But um, I mean, I guess if the Switch was like out back then, you would still have multiple save files on one cartridge. But back then, it was like the one cartridge holds one save file, right?
Yeah, and even like Sword and Shield does that, but like you can get around that with the Nintendo Switch profiles. But
Hmm.
yeah, which is why I really really want to do a Nuzlocke. I've never done a Nuzlocke before, and so since Leaf Green was my first game, I think I'd want to do it on Leaf Green, but I don't have any way to transfer them because my DS Lite is kind of busted, and I've tried transferring the Pokemon over to using my brother's Soul Silver game, but it just wasn't working correctly. So I can't like take the Pokemon I caught like 10 or 11 years ago. I can't transfer them off of that cartridge. And so I don't want to reset the game to do a Nuzlocke. So I'll probably just do it
Mm.
on a emulator or something cuz that's something I'm not I if you already own the game, I have done research into it. If you already own the game, it is legal to use like a ROM. I think technically they want you to strip the ROM off of your own cartridge, but
Yeah.
like I don't feel I
I
don't
don't
feel
have
any
that.
moral dilemma playing a ROM of a game that I've downloaded online that I already own. You know, that's
Mhm.
kind of where I draw the line. I won't. I'm not gonna emulate Tears of the Kingdom because I don't have my own Switch, but I'm fine with emulating Leaf Green because I already own Leaf Green. You know.
See, my thing with emulation is that if you can't buy it, like if it's on sale right now at not a extortionist pricing, right?
Hmm.
Then don't emulate it, right? It like I mean, what is it called? Just like basically don't emulate like Tears of the Kingdom because you could still purchase it. You could purchase a Switch. It's not like prohibitively expensive, and you'd be supporting the game that you like, right? Through
Some people might
purchasing
say it's
it through.
prohibitively expensive at the $70 price point, but anyway, go
It's
on.
not really. Well, it's not really. I would say like, despite it being $70, the first Nintendo game with $70, it is a masterpiece across the board, right?
Yeah.
And so it's like it's definitely worth it. Like it's not
Yeah,
like they're ripping
I
you
remember
off
when the
with it.
price, yeah, when the price was first announced, people were going ballistic online. But since the game's been out, I haven't heard a single comment about it.
It's
Because
just like
people,
there's so many $70 games out there that like that just are filled with bugs and stuff, and
yeah,
just filled with like performance issues on PC, yada yada. And it's just like I feels like Zelda is like the is the first proper like $70 game
yeah, like
like
seventy
on
dollars
the market.
is the standard now in the gaming industry, and Nintendo's just now tapping into that. So that's why I
There was
haven't
a
had a
statement by
problem
them
with it too
that's
much.
yeah. There was
Anyway,
a statement by them that was like what is it called? That they say that it's not for every game coming out,
yeah,
it's
it was
just for
like
games
this
that they think
special
that they
games.
deserve. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think most people
They
would agree Tears of the Kingdom is like top tier Nintendo. They can do the $70 for this one.
yeah. Cuz even
Anyway, you were talking
Xenoblade
about
3 that came out like is not even $70 even though it's a large game as well. So,
anyway, you're going on about emulation.
oh yeah. Emulation, I was just saying that if you can buy it right now, um probably you should probably support the developers by purchasing it.
Hmm.
But if you can't buy it right now, right? Like it's only available online through emulators, or like
Like Zero
if you have it,
Mission.
yeah, if you have it online, or like what is it called? If you find it online and then it's like $300, I don't think a game should ever be worth like $300. I think that is definitely like prohibitively expensive once it reaches like over $100 for a game that cost about like $40 at launch or something.
Hmm.
Like I would say like I would have bought Pokemon Black and White 2 because I didn't buy it when I got it because when I was a child back then, I thought it was just I
Just
thought it was
Black
just like a
again.
rehash.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I got into it late and it costs about like $200 now, just like platinum or something. Like
I
you can
was
buy online.
lucky.
So
I had a friend. I was in like fifth or sixth grade, and I had a friend who was just done with the game, and so he knew I liked Pokemon, so he just gave it to me. So I
ah,
have Black 2 that way.
kicking himself in the foot now that he knows that he could have sold it for so much now.
But yeah, that Black 2 is such a good game. I haven't played the original Unova games, and so I
Mm,
know how the story goes because I've kind of looked it up online, and with Black 2 being a sequel, you kind of get a lot of that kind of stuff. It's like, okay, yeah, N is a good guy, so you can't really go back and play Black and really kind of be surprised by that. So it's a little
mm.
disappointing that I just haven't played the other Unova games and could have gotten that experience of the story because Gen 5 probably has the best story in my opinion of all the Pokemon games.
I
Um
would say that like Gen 5, well, definitely Black and White 2 are competing for the top Pokemon games of all time.
mhm.
Um, well, in my opinion, but like, um, it's kind of like that thing where people wish they had like the black and white art style back with the moving sprites and stuff.
Yeah.
But given how like given how like Nintendo's been treating or Pokemon's been treating like their remake projects, it would be a real shame if like they actually got rid of the pixel art style. Maybe they could do an
Yeah.
Octopath Traveler kind of thing, right? That could be cool, but I don't know. Their BDSP was probably like the worst remake they've ever made.
Yeah. I've heard it's like the worst Pokemon game ever made.
Mhm.
Because if you're talking
And
about
it's like-
scaling issues, I heard that one was really bad because like the game is incredibly easy until you get to Cynthia, and then she's just like scaled up way too hard, and so like people
Well-
would just get wrecked by Cynthia.
I just feel like the game was a bit easy before Cynthia. It was just like, what is it called? It's probably like I feel like Cynthia is like the only thing they changed, like like in terms of like stat wise and move wise. I mean, every single battle has had their Pokemon altered, right? Just so that they have their modern moves. But like Cynthia was like kind of like base boosted compared to everything else.
Yeah, and it's also like they remade Diamond and Pearl, but like didn't bring in any of the platinum adjustments and improvements. Like
yeah, if you were
they
gonna use the chibi art style, like I want to see Looker in chibi. I want to see that.
That'd be fun. But
But
yeah,
like it was like they tried to emulate Link's Awakening, but they didn't. So it's like I have like almost no trust in Pokemon with their remakes, and I just feel like they'll just tarnish like Gen 5's legacy with the new remake.
Yeah, because the Gen 3 and the Pokemon remakes so far have always been like so high quality and like taking the best things of like the originals and also like the third games. So like, you know, Emerald, like they besides the Battle Frontier, ripped the Battle Frontier, but they took a lot of the best parts of Emerald and put them into Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire. Like Fire Red and Leaf Green are classics. Like I said, they're my first Pokemon games, so there might be a little bit of nostalgia in there, but like those are solid games that really took the best parts of the recent generation and improved the originals, because the originals are just not, they don't hold up at all.
Especially mechanic wise, there's a lot of things that have changed.
It's very simplistic. They don't, you know, as before the physical special split and stuff like that. So yeah, certain things. Basically, yeah, the remakes so far have always been like really high quality, but then Diamond and Pearl came along. The Diamond and Pearl remakes is like, okay, you took all the worst parts of Diamond and Pearl and remade them. Like you didn't change Flint's team. They had the Diamond Pearl team for Flint, which is like he's got 2 fire types and 3 random Pokemon that just have fire moves. And I know people were like, okay, why? And they fixed that in Platinum. So Platinum, he's got like a fire team, like you would expect.
Yeah, but the
from
Pokedex is all changed like from in Platinum. So it's kind of like they would have had to use Platinum as a base at the start, because that's basically what they did. If you looked at like the game files or something, I think someone said that if you investigated it a little, like the game files
use Platinum as a base.
They used like Diamond and Pearl as the base, like, and just changed the graphics around it basically.
Okay.
But yeah, it's kind of like a thing where what is it called? The kind of like it's the first remake that Game Freak didn't make themselves, right? Like
really?
They just commissioned like Ilka to make it.
Oh right, because they were busy with Arceus.
Yeah, Arceus and Scarlet and Violet at the same time. So it's just like they didn't have the resources, but also I kind of wish they'd held it off if they didn't have the resources.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just
that's a big problem of like
disappointing.
A Pokemon game every single year has just become something that really doesn't help things. Like Sword and Shield really suffered from that, and you can tell like some of the DLC really felt like base game stuff that they just didn't have time to do, because I'm not sure who makes the calls how often Pokemon games come out. I don't know if it's Nintendo. I don't know if it's higher ups at Game Freak, but yeah, having a Pokemon game every single year just really makes the game suffer overall because they like Scarlet and Violet really needed more polish. Scarlet and Violet had like game breaking bugs at launch, and to be fair, that's just
they still have them like.
Yeah,
with all the new events
still
going on,
yeah, and
they just keep adding new items that crash people's games.
yeah, and it's like, to be fair, that's kind of what the game industry is right now. But that's no excuse. The game industry shouldn't be like that. It shouldn't be, prioritize release dates
They're
over
prioritizing
quality.
The profits, like they want to get that quicker, right? But like you tarnish a game at launch and people will remember,
yeah, they want the fiscal year to look good, and so they will rush games. They will, overlook bugs and stuff like game breaking bugs to make sure things get out on time. And I don't know if it does help their bottom line at all, because like, people are going to talk about it online, and it's going to cause people not to buy the game. And so like, it's kind of weird to think that they'll go with that direction to get sales quicker when a poor built game is not going to get the amount of sales it would if it was built higher
like
quality.
You can look at Tears of the Kingdom, right? Like they built that for 6 years, and Zelda has never sold to the level of Pokemon, and yet it has now, right? Like it's such a good game.
Oh, has
like,
it? What's the numbers look like?
They sold like 10 million in 3 days for Tears of the Kingdom.
Yeah,
and
so
that's that's what Pokemon Scarlet and Violet sold, and it came out as a mess. But that's because of the Pokemon brand. People want to play Pokemon, and people bought
it's the number one multimedia franchise of all time. So
yeah,
and like,
but Zelda has never really sold in that capacity. So,
and I know Animal
but
Crossing,
they did have a lot of product at launch.
Yeah,
you could get like you can get Zelda. You could pre-order it at the last minute, and you could still get it like in stores and pre-order it, and it will be shipped and delivered real quickly. They have the stock for it, right? So.
Yeah, I know Animal Crossing, that got delayed like 6 months or so, and I know people were praising that decision. They're like, okay, yeah, give us more time, like just make the game better. And Animal Crossing became the highest selling Animal Crossing game ever, and COVID definitely helped that. But even if COVID hadn't happened, I still think it would have been the highest selling Animal Crossing game because of the extra amount of polish that the team put into it.
And honestly, it still could be like selling very well, like if they actually just kept pushing updates for it, because I think the updates ended like in 2021, right? So it's like they had this base, had a great base, but they didn't keep pushing updates on it because I think most of the team is also part of the Splatoon team, and they had to work on Splatoon 3 or something like that. So it's just like they have like, they could have made Animal Crossing like continue as a kind of like service, but they made sure like it could have been still selling pretty well, but I think the sales are starting to like, well, I think they started for a while to like teeter off, and like, well, like they could. It
makes you wonder. I wonder if they were not expecting the sales it got, and so like some of the content plans, because like DLC is usually planned pretty close, like if not ahead of time, like pretty soon after the game is launched. Like the Sword and Shield DLC was not planned after Sword and Shield was released. Like it was already in the pipeline. They were already working on it before the game released. So I wonder if a lot of the content and some of the lack of content was because they weren't expecting it to do as well as it did. And could they have foreseen it? I wonder if they would have put more effort into coming up with new content ideas to go on for another year or so.
Yeah, because obviously they had a schedule to switch to like Splatoon development and stuff, right? So it's just like, it's like possibly like the business side could see like potential sales for continuing it, but also they might also see potential like a lot more sales if they actually released a new Splatoon, right? Because Splatoon is very popular in Japan and like
It's
other parts
popular
of the world,
everywhere.
right? Well, it's like a major culture thing. Uh, like like I think a lot of Japanese people are just like Splatoon heads. I don't know how you call them. Squid
Squid heads.
squid kids. Like
Yeah.
they're just like there's a whole culture evolving in, and that's why even like Splatoon is continuing to have a series, right? Unlike Arms.
Yeah. Oh my
um
gosh. Yeah.
yeah, it's just it's a bit of like Nintendo is prioritizing development of like new titles, new installments, or new installments in the series kind of thing, but also their installments are out still pretty good at the same time that like maybe they should continue with this, like how movies be like oh yeah, let's make a new movie on this franchise that sold really well.
Mhm.
Hashtag Minions. Hashtag
Oh no.
Despicable Me 3.
Illumination.
Yeah,
Yeah.
just all
How
that
many?
sort of
How many are
stuff.
there now? I think there's 5 movies in that franchise now, and
Yeah,
really, the first one was the only really good one. The second one I
yeah,
liked. The second one I liked. So the third one was just a bit. Uh, yeah, I didn't like the third one very much. But the first one was great. It was amazing. It had great character development. And the second one was kind of it was a fun ride. I liked the Libre guy. I liked I don't remember what his name was, but yeah, I liked the second one. And then everything else was just kind of Illumination
hmm
wanting to ride that success.
and yet the Mario movie still outsold like all of them.
Yeah,
So,
the Mario movie just became it. It's the highest selling animated film of all time now. It beat Frozen 2.
mhm.
It's insane, but like also kind of predictable. Like it's insane that an Illumination movie did that. Like I don't like Illumination, and I was I was pretty vocal about that uh, before the trailer came out. It was just not the fact that Illumination was doing the Mario movie. I did not have any confidence whatsoever in the movie,
Mhm.
but and I feel like Nintendo saved it. I feel like just they're very very close um
Yeah, it just felt
control
like
over
a
it.
lot of love was actually poured into like the Mario movie because there
Yeah.
were so many references. There's so many things that didn't feel like, oh, this is just to show it off, right? Like there's this is part of the Mario universe, you know. But like it just there's so many small references as well that it just made watching it enjoyable as a fan. And like it was I don't feel that stuff from like Despicable Me past like post Despicable Me 2, right? Like
Hmm.
you don't feel like there's people like there's people that really love the Minions, I guess. But like yeah.
Little kids do, which is why they can make those movies and why they can make a lot of money. Because kids movies in general just make a lot of money because you get like every kid that goes to the movie needs an adult to go with them. Like that's kind of a thing. So it's like every kid that goes to the movie, you're going to get 2 ticket sales at least. So like kid movies are always something that companies can make for really cheap and get money out of them really easily.
hmm But
So
also at the same time, if it's not like a good product, kids won't really remember it, right? They'll
yeah,
only think about the funny minion.
yeah. But there's also
They'll,
that. There's also like when kids like something, they obsess over it, and so like if they like Despicable Me, they're gonna get Minion toys. They're gonna get just a lot of stuff. They're gonna want the DVD. They're gonna want all this kind of stuff, and so that also just really makes kid movies just crazy profitable for like
mhm.
minimal effort.
Yeah, but but what I meant was like it's not really gonna be like what is it called? There's not gonna be that much impact like from that movie
Hmm.
when like kids grow up, right? They won't remember it
Yeah.
like too much, or they won't remember it fondly because I still remember, right? Like I still remember like Shrek and stuff. Like those were good movies, I think. Well, except for Shrek the Third, everyone kind of hates that one. Um, but like it's kind of that thing where if you don't put out good movies, people won't remember them. They'll only remember like the short-term sales, right? But they won't remember like the impact like that people had while making the movie or anything like that.
Yeah, and then the years down the line, you can re-release it for a lot of money. Like
Yeah,
like
like
Star
people
Wars.
want like real life versions of like the Disney movies. No, the animated movies are perfectly fine. You know, like
It's
you
like
could
it's like
re-release those.
Cinderella and Beauty and the Beast did good, and so they're like, okay, we're gonna go all in on this for the next 10 years.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like the technology is okay, but like it's not really. It shouldn't be really a showcase of technology. It should really just be like, here's your favorite thing again, remastered or something like that, right?
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, Jungle Book. I remember liking Jungle Book because it was so original, and I think they tried to do the same thing with like Lion King a little bit, but also I don't know.
Yeah.
Lion King is weird. The original movie is so good, and so the live action one was like, okay, we're just gonna do things. They make a lot of the same jokes, like a lot of the same jokes. Timon and Pumbaa have some of the exact same lines in the live action remake, but they just don't have the same delivery as, you know, Nathan Lane doing Timon. Like they just can't. They tried to take the same jokes and make people laugh twice, and it just didn't work out. But
it's just like
Lion King,
not everything has to be live action, right? Like,
yeah,
like everything, like there's good stuff before, and doesn't mean that it's outdated now. Like the only thing that's outdated is probably like the resolution or something.
But the thing, I am appreciative of Lion King's existing because it allowed Jon Favreau to develop the technology for The Mandalorian, the digital, the virtual filmmaking. You know, the LED walls and stuff. That was all kind of the next step from what he did with Jungle Book and then with Lion King. And so because he did those two movies, he was able to make Mandalorian and revolutionize filmmaking in the modern day, which is so cool. If you see a lot of the documentaries on it, it's so cool what they can do with it. So if just for that, I will tolerate Lion King's existence. The live action one. The animated one is amazing.
Yeah, I kind of guess like maybe it might be worth its existence if it helps further a different thing. It's just like just like one of those projects where you're trying out like a new editing style or something. It does help, but maybe it wasn't perfect like the first go, you know.
Yeah.
So.
Okay, we've been talking about Nintendo a lot. It's fun. It's so fun. We can just ramble on about stuff. What other new games have come out recently that you've really been excited for?
Well, I wasn't excited for this game, but as soon as I played it, I'm also addicted.
Yeah, it was something you weren't expecting to like as much, but you got it because it's Zelda.
Yeah, well, not Zelda, but like I'm talking about a different game.
Okay.
This is a different game I've been playing, and have to grind the dailies and stuff like that in order to get far. But that's a small price to pay for being free to play. It's
what game is it?
It's called Honkai Star Rail. Like, if you've ever heard of Genshin Impact or Honkai Third Impact, it's from those same developers.
I did hear about it. I've seen some like ads about it, like people getting sponsored on YouTube to talk about it.
Yeah, and it's been really fun for me. I mean, I feel like people might feel like very off about me like praising a gacha game or something, but I also like what is it called? Pokemon Masters EX. So I play that daily as well. I just have like, it's so much more fun for me compared to Genshin because it's a turn-based RPG. Instead of being like open world, just hack and slash kind of thing. Obviously, because Pokemon is also like that, right?
Yeah.
It's just a thing where it's like, it's you basically have currently 3 worlds to explore, and it's just, I don't know, lots of enemies, lots of mechanics, ultimates, basic attacks, and all that stuff. All the kind of things that you might find in like in an Overwatch or something, but put in like RPG format. So it's pretty fun. It's well, it also gets pretty grindy once you're stuck at a point here.
Yeah,
but it's
that's just RPGs in general. RPGs always have some level of grind somewhere.
Yeah, I think the recent Pokemon games, like what is it called, Scarlet and Violet and Sword and Shield, didn't really allow me to grind that much. I could just progress in the story just by battling all the trainers and catching any Pokemon that I don't have yet.
Yeah, the always on XP share. The XP share is something that like I kind of appreciate, but also don't very much.
The only thing I hate about the XP share is that you don't get the choice to turn it off.
Yeah,
which I think,
because like I'll have a Pokemon in the back of my party that might be a little underleveled, and then it'll like evolve. Obviously, you can cancel the evolution, but like it will evolve without me really doing much with it. So it's like, you know, say I have a Picky Peck or something like that. Like I'll be going through maybe a mountain area, and I need my Grookey, and I'll need to, you know, sweep through a lot of the ground types, and then by the end of this mountain trail or whatever, my, you know, bug type in the back has evolved, but like I didn't have any opportunity to really emotionally connect to the old form, you know. So that's something that's just kind of it feels like a very specific thing, but that is one problem I have with it. But it also just means it's easier to stay at the right level, which is good. I do like that because, like, you know, go back to Crystal, I am struggling really hard to get through the Elite Four, and so now I'm basically just going around Victory Road just mashing A the entire time, and that's not fun either. So it's a balance that I think they haven't quite got yet.
Yeah, I don't think like the experience share itself is bad, right? It's just that you can't turn it off, and also it's kind of imbalanced, or maybe the game is balanced with it on, like, at all times, right? So even if you turn it off, you'll be highly underleveled for anything. But I think it's also better than switch training, what you would have done back in the day, where you switched out like a low level Pokemon for a higher level one just to defeat an opponent for their XP, right?
Yeah,
because that was very grindy, even though it was very normal back then.
Yeah, and the XP share being a collectible item you find somewhere, maybe in you know, kind of a harder to get to dungeon or whatever, like it's kind of been in the past. Like that's always been a really nice reward. It's like, okay, I don't have to switch train anymore because I can just give the XP share to my lower level Pokemon that I'm actively trying to evolve at this point, instead of, like, you know, accidentally evolving it, accidentally leveling up too much, so you don't have the chance to use its other form and evolve a connection to it. So that I really do like it. So I think giving us the option,
but at the same time, like at the same time, it's also probably more beneficial to like have the XP share at the beginning of the game, right? Like where people don't want to grind at the beginning. Maybe grind at the end, but like at the beginning, it's probably more beneficial to have it on.
That's something I disagree with, but that's a fair point. Yeah, I think they could fix a lot of problems by making it a collectible item again, and then giving you the option to equip it or unequip it like before. So basically, make it like the old XP share, but give it the option to give XP to everyone. I feel like that would be, to me at least, that balanced the system out pretty well. Because having it at the beginning of the game, not able to turn off, is just not. I just don't think it's great.
It's just like, at least they toned it back from like Gen 6. How like it was really wild with how much XP you got. Because Scarlet and Violet, you don't really get that much, comparatively. Um, and it just feels much more balanced, especially since now you can send out Pokemon into the field, and they'll earn XP through that way, right?
Mm,
Um, through just fighting Pokemon, other Pokemon, and collecting their resources for crafting TMs, right?
yeah,
It's just like it's much less XP, and it's because it's so much easier to like send out a Pokemon to battle another one in the field by pressing R or something. So yeah, I think it's more of a because battles take a long time compared to just sending out a Pokemon to gather resources. Um, they get more XP from the XP share, and
yeah.
they get like middling XP from from just from gathering resources. Which even though they're defeating like the same Pokemon, it's just a little game design thing that might like um that I think is better.
Hmm.
It
And
also
Scarlet
just
and
it would
Violet is
make the
also
XP, yeah, it would make the XP share like not worth it if it didn't give any, like it didn't give a lot of XP, you know.
mhm.
But yeah.
Yeah, and Scarlet and Violet is a very different Pokemon game from everything else. I mean, it I you could say Arceus is the most different Pokemon game, but like Scarlet and Violet being the first mainline game to kind of take stuff out of Arceus is they're still kind of on a learning curve. I feel like they're still trying to figure out what works best in this newer kind of system where it's not just linear. It's not just um, they have to work. They have to do leveling differently in this game because people can go everywhere now, and so it's something that they're still working on. I feel like, and I think as they go along, the XP share will probably be tweaked to be a little bit better. But then again, this is Game Freak we're talking about, and they push a Pokemon game out every year, so maybe they just won't put in the time to do that.
Yeah, the thing about Arceus is just like there's so much right with Arceus, but also it's a very different like game style, gameplay wise, right?
Mm-hmm.
Just like it's mostly like a first person shooter kind of type of game. So it controls like one, and it's not really that it's like it's a lot tougher because of like all the things that have changed with it, with like strong style and what was the other one called? Swift style? I don't
I don't
remember.
know. Rapid style. No, wait, no, is that?
That's Urshifu.
Yeah, that's Urshifu. Never mind. They kind of did
Um,
the same thing twice in two different games. That's kind of weird. I didn't realize that before.
mhm. And it was just like it might have been harder because they didn't find a good balance between it all, but it was still fun, a fresh experience in Pokemon, you know,
Mm.
just to get that just to get that kind of catching mechanic that's not like Let's Go,
Mm-hmm.
um, and just like to be able to catch a Pokemon without battling. That was such a thing that people liked, right? So I don't know if you liked it, but
I didn't play
I think
Arceus
oh,
because
mhm.
I didn't have a chance to play it, but I'd like to. I heard a lot of good things about it. Um, if they come out with like another Legends game, I'd definitely check it out. Like imagine if they made a Mewtwo game like about the origins of Mewtwo. Maybe like this definitely feels like more of something that I'd want that they'll never do, but like more of like a mystery game instead of RPG type thing. Like a Pokemon game that's not an RPG. It's more of a mystery, delving into like Mewtwo's origins, and obviously we already know that, but know what happened, but kind of going through the events of the Cinnabar Island lab and and stuff like that. I feel like that could be cool as maybe a Legends game.
Detective Pikachu 2 never releasing.
Oh, kind of. Oh, right. Yeah, Detective Pikachu was the movie at least. I didn't play the game, but yeah, that was definitely all about Mewtwo. Okay, so I guess
There was
they
supposed to
have
be,
done it a little bit.
yeah, there was supposed to be a Detective Pikachu 2 game, but we haven't heard about that in like 8 years or something. So,
Yeah,
and I think it was
yeah,
supposed to release for 3DS as well. I'm not sure. That's
yeah.
probably
I think
off the
so.
table.
I think it was supposed to be released for 3DS, and then people were like, okay, well, they'll probably release it for the Switch. And now the Switch is coming to the end of its life lifetime. So yeah, Detective Pikachu 2. Um, yeah, I don't think it's happening anytime soon, unless they put it
But
on
maybe it,
like the next console. But that's just kind of going back to what people were saying about the Switch. It's like, oh, they'll do it on the next console. They'll do it on the next console.
at least give a pork. At least give a port, Game Freak. Like I kind of want to play the first one, and I think if they were porting, like maybe they'll do like a whole like complete edition later. Like they actually have two in the works, but after they might it might be developed for Switch, and also the a port for Detective Pikachu could be on Switch as well. But at the same time, I'm really just don't trust Game Freak to go through with it like until like the next fiscal year when they have their Pokemon Presents.
Yeah, yeah. I don't know how a port would work because the DS is a very like unique console, and so like porting any sort of DS game is gonna be tricky. They could kind of do it with the Wii U. They could kind of have like DS Virtual Console on the Wii U because you had the second gamepad, but yeah, for like the Switch, I really don't see how DS games are going to be able to be ported unless it's like one of those DS games that was definitely not built for the DS, and they just kind of the touchscreen was just kind of a gimmick. If you ever played like Force Unleashed on the DS, the touchscreen was definitely just a gimmick. You did all your attacks by tapping on the touchscreen, or you did force moves by tapping on the touchscreen, because it was built as like a console game first. And so stuff like that, yeah, you could easily just put it on the Switch, but I don't know.
Yeah, definitely games developed with like the touch in mind instead of like an afterthought that probably won't work well, because even with like, Captain Toad on Switch, right? The cursor is not that great. Especially if you played the demo at all, is just like, yeah, it might be better playing it off the TV and maybe buying like a third party stylus or something. Yeah.
I will always forget. I keep forgetting that the Switch has a touchscreen. It's just something you don't think about. In Minecraft, when you're playing Minecraft, you can tap your hotbar to switch items. If you didn't know that, but using the bumpers is just way quicker. So it's like, it's such a weird thing. They'll have like those little gimmicks,
option
just to kind of make the touchscreen, just to kind of give it purpose. Because they had like 1-2 Switch, I think, that used the touchscreen stuff, but for the most part, because they have to make the games viable on docked mode as well as handheld and tabletop, and so even though it's got a touchscreen, I don't think I haven't seen any recent games that use the touchscreen in a really substantial matter.
I think some games, earlier on, was
like
more
Switch.
of like like 1-2 Switch was like, you gotta take it out of the out of the dock to hold the baby or whatever. It's just like, yeah, nobody's gonna really do that because it's more annoying than it is like useful, But it is somewhat of a good like, yeah.
They had what was it, the cardboard
Lavo?
Yeah, Lavo. Yeah, I remember that. That was a big thing that they were pushing for a while, and I just haven't heard anything about that for years. Because again, it's just like something you kind of have to take the Switch out of the dock for, and people just don't. People like the thing about the Switch that's really great is that you can basically just play console games on the go. I don't think people buy the Switch because of the gimmick. They buy the Switch because they can play Zelda on the TV or handheld. It's basically combining like the a Game Boy or something, Game Boy Advance with the console thing, kind of their old.
Well, it's like the only place to buy to play Zelda, right? Well,
yeah,
besides
that too.
emulation, right?
That too, but like, yeah, I think the Switch gimmick is. It's more, yeah, people like it more because you can just play console games on the go, much less, oh, you can tilt the screen and do this, and you can touch, and you can use your different switches and maybe do VR, because they had like the Labo VR headset that worked with like 2 games in total. It was like a Mario Odyssey mini game, and I think Zelda have it? I don't think so. Oh yeah,
No,
Zelda did have
Zelda had it.
Zelda had it, but yeah, the the Switch gimmick definitely died really quickly. So anyway, I think
Well, not really that gimmick. It's like what is it called? They just didn't utilize it that much, but it was I guess it was a nice to have feature if developers wanted to use it, you know.
Yeah, that seems
Other
like
consoles,
fair.
yeah, like other consoles don't have that kind of thing really. They don't really have like I think the only thing that comes close in terms of like what is it called? In terms of like controller sensors and stuff like that is the PS5 controller. So yeah, and the PS VR headset 2, I think 1 and 2. So yeah, those are like the only other like ways to play that aren't like, well, I think VR is way less gimmicky than just the just the like HD Rumble or whatever, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, we got HD Rumble. I don't know what Nintendo's gonna do for their next console, but I think they might release it in 2024 or something like that.
Yeah, it's
or
gonna be
announce it.
really soon. It's because I know just a year or two ago, Nintendo confirmed that the Switch was coming to the end of its life cycle, and so really, I wouldn't be surprised if this summer they announced the next console. Because I've heard theories from Arlo. If you watch Arlo at all, he's great, but he's talking about how he's pretty sure that Metroid Prime 4 is gonna be on the next console, and it's like almost done right now, but because the Switch is almost dead, they want to save it for the next console,
Well, it's not
and
like
have it like as a release title or something like that. Having Metroid as a release title would be insane, but it'd also be really cool for those fans that have been waiting for Metroid to be, relevant for a while.
I don't think the Switch is like almost dead. I think it's just like past its like growth period, you know? Like it's still selling like over like 18 million per year.
That's definitely not the right word, but yeah, just like the 3DS, like the 3DS was still selling for a long time even after people stopped developing games for him. So it's
like
it's
I think
more
at most maybe the Switch might well, at least I think the Switch will reach 140 million sold, right?
Yeah.
Cuz I think it's already at like 125, 128. I'm not sure what the number is.
Yeah, what I mean by dead is basically they're gonna stop making first party games for the Switch. So like at that point, yeah, I think they're gonna release Metroid Prime 4 on the next Switch, or like Mario Odyssey 2, stuff like that. That's gonna be on the next big console. That's
I still think Mario Odyssey 2 is like coming for like a holiday release.
for this
I feel
year?
like they might just like I feel like it might be October or something, like announced at the Game Awards or something. I don't know, but I feel like they spent so much time on Zelda, right? 6 years.
Yeah,
And I don't think they wouldn't have spent a lot of time on like a new Mario game that will be released this year. Probably a big one, right? Because right now they're focused on marketing Tears of the Kingdom, and I think it's going well, you know.
Yeah.
And it's just like they could just make this one of the biggest years for them, like 2018 was, or like was it 2018? It's 2017.
I don't remember.
But the year I think it was 2017, the year when both Breath of the Wild and Odyssey
And
came
Mario
out,
Odyssey, yeah.
and those were like 2 Game of the Year contenders. They can do that the same here, right? Like they can do the same here this year with another Odyssey 2, 2 more Game of the Year contenders.
Yeah. Pikmin 4 think could also have a lot of potential.
I don't think general audiences are really like into like Pikmin, like
Well,
they
the thing
are
is this-
Mario and Zelda.
That's true. But also just like the Switch just revitalizes franchises like crazy. Like Animal Crossing was just insane the way I think it got Game of the Year, didn't it? Or it was
I think it was
really
nominated for
close.
something, Family Game of the Year or something. I don't know.
Something like that. But like Animal Crossing has never been a top franchise for Nintendo, but because it released on the Switch and because of COVID, and people just like raving about the game, people bought it and loved it. And so I think Pikmin 4 and Metroid Dread. Metroid Dread was the same way. Metroid
Yeah.
has never been a flagship series for Nintendo, but Metroid Dread did so well because, again, it was released on the Switch and people were raving about it. So I think Pikmin 4's got a lot of potential to do what Animal Crossing and Metroid have already done on the Switch in the past few years. It's kind of like the next minor series that's getting revitalized on the Switch that people are going to be raving about and it's going to get a lot of sales.
Mm, I don't really see Pikmin really. I mean, I guess I feel like
I think Pikmin 3
Pikmin
Deluxe sold better than every other Pikmin game, too.
kind of it's kind of that thing where people don't really have that, like, what is it called? Like, there's a obviously I think there's a cult following behind like Pikmin, right?
Mm-hmm.
But there was also a cult following behind Metroid and stuff like that. And I just don't know if like every time something does good, like Metroid Dread, and then, there was also Metroid Prime like remastered in the works, right?
Mm-hmm.
And like would it have like the same impact? Because there's Animal Crossing is like what is it called? Kind of thing that kids can get into very easily. The same with like Pokemon, right?
Mm-hmm.
But I just feel Pikmin is like one of those. It's like kind of like Fire Emblem in a way. I don't know how to really describe it, but like it can be very niche. It can sell well, but it might not be like the most like best game in like general for general audience like to recommend.
Yeah. Yeah, that's fair. I just think Pikmin 4 is going to do really good. I just
don't
really
think
have
it's
a lot
gonna
of faith
do
in
bad.
it. Yeah.
Yeah. I kind of want to get into the Pikmin series. I kind of want to get 3 Deluxe, but I just feel like if Pikmin 4 is this close, and it might not be like Pikmin's probably just not a series where you have to play the previous one to get what kind of story is going to happen
No,
in the.
I don't think you do at all. And 3's got a demo. Pikmin 3 Deluxe has a demo if you haven't played that. If you want to try your hand at it, because I played it and I really loved it, and it's probably going to make me want to get Pikmin 4, because that was the first Pikmin game I'd ever played. So,
Yeah, and it's also like one of those things where I want to get the newer version just because maybe there's a lot of quality of life changes
Yeah.
that would make it less frustrating to play.
yeah, that's fair. Yeah, Pikmin 4 is gonna, if anything, it's gonna, even if it's not like Game of the Year material, it's gonna sell a lot just because it's on the Switch. The Switch just
The Switch
sells
has
things.
a large install base. They
Yeah.
wouldn't have released this earlier on because they didn't have that many people playing the Switch. Well, many people being like 20 million plus back in like
Yeah.
2017, but like they're reaching a bigger audience now. A lot of franchises that are like in on the back burner have a better chance to sell, right?
Yeah. Now, if only they brought back Star Fox, that's not just a remake of the original, for the fourth time, something like that.
I feel like they'd have to reinvent a lot of Star Fox's like mechanics, just like how Metroid Dread is like still tight, but not like constricting like the previous Metroid 2D Metroid games.
I know when
It's like they have to really refine it.
I know when Starlink Battle for Atlas came out, they had like Star Fox stuff on the Switch version, and I know a lot of people were like, okay, if they just made a Star Fox game in this style, we would not be disappointed. I mean, it's also like a Ubisoft game, so it's kind of got the kind of grindy nature of a Ubisoft game. But I know a lot of people are saying like, okay, if Star Fox builds off of this engine and builds off of this thing, then it would definitely like revitalize the series. So they do have a blueprint in case they wanted to reinvent Star Fox in that way.
And I think Nintendo only succeeds with these projects if they're like, if people are going to say like they're the ones that like this is the definitive like spaceship flyer game. I don't know what they're called,
Yeah.
but like No Man's Sky and stuff like that, kind of
Yeah.
like in that territory. But also it's like like probably Zelda is the definitive like open world experience, right? Like Mario's like definitive 3D platformer. Like no one else kind of like touches their level in terms of like game design.
And like Mario Kart's the racing series, which is kind of, I feel like is kind of left F-Zero in the no pun intended, but Mario Kart's definitely left F-Zero in the dust as the racing series, because both of them came out on the SNES, and both of them did well on the SNES, but like Mario Kart just kind of became more popular by being Mario. You know, it's much more mainstream.
And plus they added so much to Deluxe comparatively to the Wii U Mario Kart 8, right?
Yeah.
Like it's almost like it's almost like a new game. It's almost like Mario Kart 9, right? Where they've added almost everything. It's like the Smash Bros Ultimate of kart racing for Mario. But they didn't add everything, you know. But everything from past games, but it's still like they doubled the track count. They made the items like, what is it called? You can hold 2 items at the same time, kind of mechanic change.
And then they like doubled the track
a lot more
count again
characters
with the DLC.
Yeah. So it's insane. Also, it makes sense as well, just because of how good Mario Kart 8 Deluxe is selling. Like almost 60 million copies.
Yeah,
Mario Kart 8 like
Deluxe is
half the
insane.
Switch. That's like half the Switch install base, so like dang.
Yeah. It also helps, it's kind of got the Wii Sports phenomenon, where it's basically, it's a game that's packaged with the Switch a lot. So when people are getting a Switch, they'll just probably, you know, they'll maybe spend $40 extra to get a Switch with Mario Kart, or a Switch with Zelda or something like that. Like that's all the holiday packages are always like the Switch with Mario Kart. And so Wii Sports ended up becoming like I don't remember if it was the best-selling Wii game, but like it was up there, definitely top 5, just by nature of being the game that was packaged with the Wii.
Yeah. And also it's like, what is it called? It's like one of those, it's that game that everyone knows that like what they're getting is the best they're getting, and it's like something that they know they're gonna have fun with, you know.
Yeah,
it's like that game where it's just like, this is guaranteed fun, especially with friends and family kind of thing.
Yeah,
so family are more like open to just purchasing it outright with the Switch, even if they don't have it bundled, right?
Yeah, playing Mario Kart with my siblings is always fun. That's something we'll do like Sunday afternoons. It's great. Doing battle especially is just really fun. Just like blow each other up, bomb battle or stuff like that. But yeah, I think we're just about running out of time. This has been great. We've had a very nice Nintendo discussion today.
The Nintendo podcast.
Yeah, the Nintendo last time, me and Matt were basically talking, and Lucid, we were all just talking about Star Wars and Harry Potter the whole time. So, yeah, this may be an Echocraft podcast, but it's definitely just whatever we decide to talk about. But anyway,
did you have different questions, or
what?
Did you have like different topics and questions that you wanted to talk about?
Zelda was
like
the topic I had planned. I knew you'd been playing Zelda for a while, and I'm a Nintendo guy too, so I was like, okay, it'd be fun if we start talking about Nintendo and then go on to something else. But I guess we just stayed with Nintendo the whole time. But that's fine. This has been great. So yeah, I hope you guys have enjoyed listening to this episode 3 now. We're hoping to get these out pretty regularly. Maybe not quite weekly, but hopefully as close to that as possible. So hope you guys enjoyed, and Lagging, thank you for coming on. This has been a really fun discussion that I don't really think I could have had with the other Echoes, because I think we were the only massive Nintendo guys on the server. I know other people like Nintendo, but I think we're the big ones. So yeah, this has been fun. Yeah, hope you guys enjoyed, and we will see you or hear you. Listen to. How do you say that? Because it's different than the video. Because anyway, leave questions in the comments. We'll mention them in the podcast. It'd be fun to start to get some Q&A stuff in here. But yeah, hope you guys enjoyed, and we will see you some other time. Goodbye.
Goodbye.